Good evening, everyone. Welcome to New Frontiers Unlocked, brought to you by Frontier Business Advisory. That was giving specific instructions with these slides. So just in case they're not working the way that they're supposed to be working, it means that I'm not following instructions properly. All right, so today this marks our second in our series of webinars. It's called Mastering Entrepreneurial Exploits, the Business Playbook. Today we'll be hearing from a group of entrepreneurs. So Brittany, sorry, even though you are representing JSEZA, I consider you are an entrepreneur. Everyone here, either you're an aspiring or you're a current entrepreneur. And we have different forms of entrepreneurs, so no explanation needed. All right, so I'm your host. I'm Priestnell Warren. Right, I go by many titles. I'm founder of Frontier Business Advisory. I am a macroeconomist, I'm an investor, I'm a serial entrepreneur. As I said before, I go by many names. So, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and entrepreneurs, welcome to our highly anticipated webinar, Mastering Entrepreneurial Exploits, the Business Playbook. We're thrilled to have you with us today as we'll delve into the intricacies of entrepreneurial success in this ever-evolving ecosystem. So just to share a little bit about us, because there's a why, there's a strong reason why we believe that it's a place, Jamaica now is the place to do business. We call it the Jamaica Yellow Brick Road, right? It's a window of opportunity, whereas Jamaica is now in a place where we've paid down our debt, coming from as high as almost 150% of, debt to GDP ratio. At that point, one of the highest in the world. Maybe only Greece and developed economies such as Japan, which, as I said, keyword developed, Japan and the United States do have high debt, but they are special, you know, exceptions to that rule. So now Jamaica has paid on that debt, maybe now ranging around 80% of GDP and slated to go much lower. We are now in an environment where interest rates are actually lower than they were historically. Inflation is relatively low, and I say relative because it has been heightened since the coronavirus meltdown, but it's relatively low. It's stable as well, and it gives us business persons an opportunity to actually grow our businesses. So Frontier was really started, it's named after the production possibilities frontier function in economics, right? Which means that an economy in a simple form has two major goods. So on one hand, you have one good, let's say good A, and the next hand you have good B, and there's a level of interchanging between these two. So if you put 10 units of good A, you may have only 5 units of good B, and the reverse may be true. So you keep balancing the equation pretty much to get to the frontier. If you look at our logo really depicts that. So our service areas are really split in three. So we consider ourselves business and financial advisors. In a nutshell, we are deals advisors. We are really here to significantly scale and grow small businesses, because I'll tell you the truth. The truth is, small businesses are the engine for growth, but they can't grow if they stay in silos. They have to come together. They have to form strategic partnership. And that's how we will grow and grow beyond the shores of Jamaica. So as I said, we have three main areas: business advisory. So we do almost every service you can think of in the business area. So from just formation, whether it's an ideation stage you're at, whether you're a company that has tested the times, looking to set your corporate goals, looking to do your annual reports, do your trainings, we do them all. We even do aspects of web development, agile project management, your pitch deck, your marketing tools. We do it. You name it, we do it. You name it, we have it. Financial analysis. Now, this is actually a growing area, because now you have a going business, going concern. You don't know whether or not you're actually earning significantly or you're managing your resources properly. So what we do, we come in, we are not doing the job of the auditor or the accountant, but what we will do is crunch those numbers for you and interpret them. And this will help you know to see the bigger picture and as well as to connect the dots in your business. So we do from profitability analysis, ratio analysis, sorry, and business valuation. Business valuation really talks about what is the value of your business. So let's say companies that are listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, in order for them to be listed, they would have gone through a series of financial analysis. They would have done business advisory as well, because they would need a certain level of structure, a certain level of corporate governance in order to get to that area. But I won't dwell too much, unless you ask of me a little later on. And so financial advice, is the other element now, putting it all together. So 3-4 years down the line now, when our current group of entrepreneurs begin to grow significantly and they're looking major financing, that is where we also come in. And I did mention briefly the companies that are listed on the stock exchange. We are prepared to list 100 companies on the Jamaica Stock Exchange in the next 10 to 15 years. Sounds like a big target, but it can be done. We're just putting it out there, right? So we do other things such as financing referrals. We are members of the JMB SME Resource Center. We do filing of business taxes, and we also help with various forms of application, right? Grant funding, etc., etc. And I won't say much on the special economic zone because Brittany will talk about that in a few minutes. All right. So as explained earlier, we take you from one end of the scale to the next. Now, formalize and grow, analyze business performance. How do you value your assets as a going concern? Raising capital for growth scaling. Now, I want us to pay attention to this graph, right? And any questions you can type them in the chat, we'll address them as we go along in the discussion, right? So you have the ideation stage, the introduction stage, the growth stage, the stage of maturity when usually you'd have created economies of scale, which we're involved in, and economies of scope, right? Creating synergies, creating strategic partnerships. Then usually there's a stage where businesses taper off. You call it the decline stage. Some call it the exit stage, right? However, what can be done there is that companies restructure. They restructure, they use technology, they train up their staff, and then they begin to grow once more, or they enter new industries. You call it the business life cycle. This is just another way of looking at it, right? Seed development stage, the startup stage, the later stage, right, which involves growth and establishment. In the chat, you could say, which area of this stage are you? Talks about the MVP. And for those who were here at our first webinar, I would have mentioned the lean startup. The lean startup actually focuses on getting that minimum viable product. Doesn't focus on being perfect entrepreneurs, but focus on starting and getting out there. And as I mentioned, the maturity and exit stage earlier. So these two graphs are rather similar. And this is essentially why our services are designed in that manner. Now for my favorite graph. This is why we were born, right? We were born to grow and scale companies. So this is actually the production possibilities frontier function. As you can see our logo, it is a depiction of the economic growth, long run economic growth, production possibilities frontier function, right? Where it talks about two different type of goods. Here it speaks to quantity of computers, quantities of cars. Another way to look at it, labor, capital. What's the other element? You guys can type it in the chat. So how do you, if you maximize, so on the first layer of the graph, if you maximize, if you find that equilibrium point, and the equilibrium point here would be the middle arrow, right? So where the middle arrow starts, that's frontier one. So we're on frontier one. You can't go to frontier two because you basically maxed out on the amount of cars you can produce and the amount of computers. Now, with the same level of labor and capital, how do you get to the next frontier? Can somebody type in the chat? You may get a prize, right? I'm giving you just a few seconds. Now, if somebody said, starts with a T, I think that is enough hint, right? So if somebody said technology, technology is what gets you to the next frontier. Besides adding more inputs of labor or adding more inputs of capital, you would need a thing called technology to get you to the next frontier. And that's essentially why we are in business. So enough about frontier for now, right? Let me introduce our guest speaker tonight. So Miss Brittany Johnson is a young professional who has been serving as Business Development Officer at the Special Economic Zone Authority for approximately 2 years. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree in International Relations as well as a Master of Science degree in International Public and Development Management from the UWI West Indies Mona. In addition to these academic achievements, she is a certified Scrum Master, which she's leveraged to drive efficiency, innovation, continuous improvement in all facets of her professional and personal life, which means she's a project manager, guys, right? In her current position, Brittany plays a pivotal role in driving Jamaica's economic growth by facilitating development and promotion of investments in special economic zones in Jamaica. She remains committed to making her indelible mark as a consummate professional and a contributor to Jamaica and beyond. Help me in welcoming Brittany Johnson, and I will stop sharing to allow her to share her presentation as well.
Thank you so much, Prismel, for that introduction. Good evening, everyone. I just want to thank you for having me. As Prismel Rafa said, my name is Brittany Johnson, and I am a Business Development Officer here at the Jamaica Special Economic Zone Authority. So while I get ready to share, I just want to ask in the meantime, does anybody have an idea of what the free zone is?
I have a vague idea.
A vague idea. Okay. Okay. So my little chat today will we'll be looking at the SEZ, the Special Economic Zone, as a tool for the entrepreneurial landscape. And I know in today's session we have quite a few MSMEs, if I'm correct. So this short presentation here will look at some of the opportunities through the SEZ through which entrepreneurs can, develop their businesses and also invest in Jamaica and further the economy. All right. So the Jamaica Special Economic Zone Authority was established in 2016. So I asked about the free zone because underneath the Special Economic Zone Act of 2016, this would have repealed the Free Zone Act and the activities underneath the free zone. So underneath the free zone, there was a limited amount of activities that could be carried out. So that was manufacturing, processing, etc., for export, whereas the special economic zone is wider and has opened that range for investors both locally and internationally to come in, where there's just a small list of activities that are considered prohibited as opposed to the other way around, right? So the authority was created to facilitate and regulate SEZs. We also recommend designated locations for establishing SEZs, and we work to attract new and diverse investment and continue to facilitate businesses so the ease of doing business is a smooth one. So what is a special economic zone? So a special economic zone is a designated geographical location. So it's a physical location that can be set up in any part of the island, right? So it just has to be demarcated by specific and clear boundaries. And within these boundaries, you have specific economic regulations regarding tax, trade, and investment that would not normally apply to the rest of the country. So whatever regulations we have within that zone is going to be different from the rest of the country. Now, within Jamaica's SEZ regime, currently we have about 196 active SEZ stakeholders, and these stakeholders are spread across 11 parishes, and that totals approximately 32 million square feet. Now, these activities range within the different industries. So we have manufacturing, processing, anything having to do with industrials. We have commercial spaces, areas for training, for research, development, and many other areas. Now, how can an entrepreneur use the SEC, within this environment to do business? You can enter the SEZ regime under 3 statuses, but we're going to really focus on the main 2, which is the developer and the occupant. And under the developer, we're also going to focus on the single entity developer. We'll still talk about the multi-purpose developer. The multi-purpose developer is that entity or that individual that leases space to multiple tenants. So you find your plot of land, you find your building or your area, you send in an application, and that application, once it has gone through the process and is approved, then the area would have been SEZ designated. From there, you would get your occupants or your tenants. They would also submit applications through you to us. And then once everything is approved, both you and your tenants would have access to the incentives of the regime. As a single entity developer, you would find your own space and get it designated as well. The only difference is that you'd be the only person operating and occupying the space. The second status is the occupant, and it is as the name says. So you're going to occupy space within the multi-purpose development or the multi-purpose zone. So you would lease the space from the multi-purpose developer, and to have access to the fiscal incentives, you would have to submit an application through your developer to the authority. The zone user here does not receive any fiscal incentives. However, the zone user provides supporting services to the other tenants within the zone. And the reason they don't, there are 2 main reasons why they don't receive fiscal incentives or the benefits. And this is 1, the zone user is normally an established business and we'll talk about that further in the presentation, or they are carrying out activities that are deemed prohibited under the SEZ Act. Now, this is the juicy part of the SEZ regime. This is debate, as persons would call it. So the fiscal benefits of being a part of the SEZ regime. The first thing we have is reduced corporate income tax. Now, the corporate income tax rate currently stands at 25%, but this would be reduced to 12.5%. And there is even further potential for this to be reduced to 7.75%. And this is with the application of the capital allowance, the employee tax credit, and the promotional tax credit. So underneath the capital allowance, let's say you brought in equipment or, other resources, your computers, these all attract a value, and over time they may depreciate. So when you are filing your tax documents to the TAJ, if it is that these resources you have, your equipment, such and such, have depreciated over time, the value of that can be used to lower your income tax rate that you pay once filed on time and filed correctly. Same for employee tax credit. So your employee tax credit looks at the tax that is paid by employees or through the employer. So your educational tax, your NIS, NHT, etc. Once these are filed correctly and on time, then that can contribute to reducing the corporate income tax as well. And lastly, for your promotional tax credit, so monies or resources spent on research and development that can also be filed in efforts to reduce your income tax rate as well. Underneath the SEZ regime, companies pay no GCT on goods and services that are purchased locally, that is entering your zone, your SEZ zone. The same applies for customs duty on goods imported directly into the SEZ. So you imported something, it's out by the wharf. Once it's leaving the wharf to go directly into the zone, then you will pay no customs duty. However, if at some point your goods have to leave the zone and they're not being exported overseas, they're going back into the Jamaican public, then the applicable duties may become payable. Now, while there are fiscal benefits of the SEZ regime, there are several non-fiscal benefits that our stakeholders, have access to. The first is our work from home policy. Now, while the policy is still being finalized, underneath this policy, companies will be afforded, the possibility of 30% of their staff being able to work from home, while the remaining 70% would work physically within the SEZ. We have streamlined custom procedures, so our SEZs often benefit from more simplified custom procedures, which can expedite the movement of goods and reduce administrative burdens on their businesses. Infrastructural support speaks to how our government would provide this support. So our improved transportation networks, we see as the highways are now, linking the different points of Jamaica, making traveling easier and shorter for our persons who are working or even just want to travel recreationally. We're seeing where we're becoming small as an island in terms of our connectivity, and this infrastructure really contributes to the conducive environment of businesses within the SEZ. Regulatory flexibility. So SEZs have access to specific regulatory flexibilities. So your licensing and permit processes become more simplified, and there is greater streamlined regulatory requirements and reduced bureaucratic hurdles. Workforce development assistance. The government collaborates with SEZ operators to provide workforce development programs, training initiatives, and access to skilled labor to meet the specific needs of companies operating within the SEZs. And lastly, and probably most importantly, within the Jamaica Special Economic Zone Authority, we have a unit called our Business Acceleration Unit. And within this unit, we have a center that facilitates the efficient provision of government services and support. So our SDZs have this unit specifically designated to them to cater to them and to assist in the different processes, licenses, and approvals that may be needed from time to time. Now, how would this apply for the micro, the small, and the medium enterprise? According to the SEZ Act, Section 2, MSME refers to an occupant that is a micro enterprise, small enterprise, or medium enterprise, right, as described in the second schedule. Now, the second schedule of the SEZ Act conveys the following definitions. So a micro enterprise is an enterprise with less than 3 employees or an annual turnover of less than 10,000 US dollars. A small enterprise is an enterprise with between 4 and 10 employees or an annual turnover ranging between 10,000 US dollars and 40,000 US dollars. And the medium enterprise is an enterprise between 11 and 50 employees or an annual turnover ranging between 40,000 US dollars and 150 US dollars. Now, for an MSME occupant, according to the fourth schedule, paragraph 2 of the Act, the eligibility criteria of the MSME occupant and the regular occupant are the same, but for one exception or one caveat. So the eligibility criteria, just 3: be a new company limited by shares. In this context and according to the Act, a new company refers to one which is yet to begin its operations in Jamaica. So you haven't been trading under this name. The name could have been registered from 1940, 1950, 1960, but as long as no activities, no commercial activities are taking place, then it would be considered a new company to Jamaica. If it is that the company was already existing, but it was existing in another country and it's just coming to Jamaica, we would also consider that a new company. The second criterion, be registered under the Companies Act of Jamaica. And thirdly, to show proof of issued and paid up share capital in the amount of US $25,000 initially and US 50,000 in investments within the first year of operation. And this is where the exception comes. Section 2B of the fourth schedule states that the MSME occupant has up to 4 years to show proof of investments amounting to US $25,000. So this is basically just a snapshot of how the SEZ can be used as, a leverage or a tool or a vehicle for smaller, medium-sized, and even our big entrepreneurs who have big dreams to open their businesses. And that is the end of my talk. Any questions?
So my question is,
What
how
type of
does it?
businesses are suited for?
Go ahead. I'm sorry. You go ahead first, and then I'll ask my question afterwards.
Okay, thank you. Uh, so the question is, what types of business are ideally suited for the SEZ?
Okay, so I will not tell you, how about I answer it this way, where I can tell you the activities that are prohibited. Because we don't have a list of activities that can join, we just have a list of activities that are prohibited. Is that fine?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. All right. So the list of prohibited activities are as follows. You have your extractive industries, so activities related to mining or quarrying. You have your public utilities, so companies such as JPS or NWC would not, meet the criteria to be within the regime. Real estate and property management services. So we're looking at companies such as your Remax or your Century 21 that focus mainly on residential development as opposed to commercial development. Those are considered prohibited. Financial services. So your banks, some of your financial institutions, those would be prohibited. You have your health services, so your pharmacies, doctor's offices, but this is excluding organizations that deal exclusively in research and development. Telecommunication services, so for example, your digital and flow, tourism, your catering services, retail, and more recently, intellectual property. So these activities have been deemed prohibited in an effort by the government to diversify the economic activities within the SEZs. So, for example, tourism, there are incentives offered by the government for persons or companies within the tourism industry as well. And what we're trying to, avoid is that we do not want any revenue leakages happening or in what we call double dipping. So we don't want it to be a case where companies are having access to, a myriad of incentives that may take away from the newer investment that would come from the new companies. So I believe that is 10, just 10 sets of activities. Outside of that, once you're carrying out an activity that is business to business based, you should be fine.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right,
All
so
right.
we'll
Thank you
take
for
two
that.
questions. We'll take Marvin, and there was a question in the chat from Sabrina, after which we'll go into the panel discussions, and we can have more questions following that. Go ahead, Marvin.
Yep. Yes, I was wondering, how can a MSMEs or small business benefit from your organization, ma'am?
Okay, so we can go back to the fiscal incentives, right? So I know that starting a business can be hectic, it can be expensive. And while there are, for the SEZ regime, there are upfront costs. Having been a part of the SEZ regime, having those duty, concessions, those relief on your customs duty, the GCT, that would bring down the costs over time for smaller businesses to give them a chance to grow and expand further.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, I see Sabrina had a question in the chat.
So the question was, she was asking you to explain the investment aspect of 25,000 US.
Okay, So this comes as one of the one aspect of the eligibility criteria to show issued proof of issued and paid up share capital. Simply speaking, that's just showing the amount of investment, the proof of investment in your project. So the US $25,000 is for occupants and for the MSMEs as well. So you're just showing proof that, hey, we've put this amount of money into the business, whether it be your board of directors, have each, have a share in the company, that can be converted into the amount. Now, it's important to note that this $25,000, you don't have to show proof of this in cash. It can be the value of the building or the plot of land that you are using, or it can be if, let's say, you've spent money on equipment. Let's say you're doing manufacturing and you spent money on forklifts, you spent money on pallets. The value of that can also be used to show proof of your investment, right? And it can also be a combination of cash, can be a combination of proof. If you also speak to your chartered accountant, if it is that you can get a grant for this investment, that can also be used as proof as well.
Thank you for
You?
thank you for that, Brittany. All
No
right.
problem.
So what we're going to do now, I'm going to have the panel discussions. So let me once more share. All right. So next we have Miss Tamika Frame. She's a dynamic and visionary entrepreneur. She has been at the forefront of the microfinance sector since 2009. That marks 15 years. That's a major milestone, right? As a CEO and managing director of Ready Cash Financing Services Limited, she has successfully steered the company through various phases of growth and innovation. Tamika's expertise lies in her strategic business management, financial oversight, and fostering an environment conducive to sustainable growth. With a bachelor's of business management and currently pursuing, a master's degree in the same field, she is committed to continuous learning and applying cutting-edge business strategies to grow. Welcome, Tamika. And you have each panelist has 5 minutes for their introduction, which will follow, a series of questions.
Okay. Thank you, Prisnell. Good evening, everyone.
So I'll just keep each profile up as you present.
Okay, certainly. Can I assume everyone can hear me? Thank you, Prisnell, for your introduction. As you have mentioned, I am Tamika Free, Managing Director for RCFS Loans. We're a microfinance company that has been in operation since 2009, offering financial relief to individuals needing loans. And, being in the Jamaican economy, a lot of business persons as well as individuals can relate to the inaccessibility of getting funding. Funding not just for business, but individual purposes. For us, we offer microloans for personal use, such as medical benefits, health, educational purposes. Some persons may want to, return to school or may want to upskill. Home improvement, it may be that persons want to do renovations, purchase furniture, or even consolidation where they find themselves in a gap and has taken on, or are not able to service their debt. So we offer a myriad of loans for personal use and for small businesses. Much of what persons are here and represent, they may need funding, to boost their small businesses. We're here for that purpose. Now, once again, most of us are small business owners, and we have to go through the day-to-day challenges of operating a business and not knowing or having a community that support us, or that we can relate to. And even this program that is being offered is really good because it's an introduction of a community that supports small businesses, where you can ask questions and you have access to resources that you can implement in your business, that you can also use to benefit your business. And as a businesswoman, started off as a sole trader. Most of us do start out that way initially. We have to ensure that we follow certain important steps when we venture into starting up a business. And the biggest one is securing your name, right, Prisnell? One of the biggest, once you get an idea, you have to
So true,
protect
so
the
true.
idea. Right. You have to protect your idea. And creating a name for your business basically create the personality for your business. And starting out small, sometimes you may not have a vision as to where you want to go. Business just start to boom and you enjoy the fact that you have a lot of customers and you're doing well. And you may end up missing certain steps, missing certain structure. And I like how you presented, Prisnell, about the frontier, going from one frontier to the next. Because small businesses tend to get stuck sometimes, even with the business life cycle that you explained. They get so comfortable not realizing that the business is going through a certain cycle and they need to take advantage at each step to ensure the continuity and productivity of the business. So it's really important that once you put your idea together and start operating your business, you create a structure for your business. How will the business operate? The financials, the employees, how is all of that managed? The technology that you choose to use. You may have been writing stuff down in a book and you transfer to Excel, but is that where you want to be? Maybe not. Then you learn a little QuickBooks and you progress and you progress. You don't want to get lost into one space or one step. And then when there's an opportunity that comes along, you're not able to take advantage because you were stuck at one stage. So as entrepreneurs and business owner, you have to ensure that you outline, you jot down your vision, know where you want to go, and preach it and pray it, and share it with your staff, share it with people around you, so that they know what you are working towards and what the company is working towards. Then they will see, well, this is where we can go. I need to take this step. I need to set this objective. I need to follow this goal in order to get to where I need to be. Right? I don't know if my 5 minutes is up yet, but it's good that we have a community here, and I'm sure persons will benefit from each presentation. 5 minutes is really not enough to share everything I know, but I would hope that what I share will be beneficial to, or entrepreneurs here, or even employees of companies who extend their knowledge and their expertise into building the various businesses, that they work in. But as mentioned, we are in the financing business. Every company needs financing. It may be that you need to deal with receivables. You are short on a bill. You need to purchase an equipment. Different, whatever it is, you need to flex your cash flow. Then we offer those type of loans, and my contact information, I'm sure, will be up, in case anybody would like to get more information on that.
Excellent, Tamika. Excellent, excellent.
Thank you.
And the timekeeper, says excellent as well. Right? So
Okay.
we'll take some questions for Tamika after. So just type those questions in the chat, guys, so we can,
Okay.
don't want to forget those questions. And I believe it is Marvin is up next. So Yes. Sorry, Marvin is a serial entrepreneur, firstly, right? He's the founder of Visionary Craft Photography. He provides quality photography services at cost-effective rates, and he also provides digital content creations. At Visionary Photography was actually Craft Photography, sorry, was founded in 2005 in Stamford, Connecticut as a home-based business, right? He's since traversed many shores, as you guys can imagine, and he's a published author. His book is called Personals, which is an in-depth analysis of life and experiences. So Marvin, you know, is a man of, I would say, many degrees. So he can share, I'm sure he could share a few snippets from the book, I'd imagine, as well as he's currently performing the role of sales and marketing executive at Contracts Consulting Jamaica. Help me welcome Mr. Marvin Murdoch.
Thank you very much for that grand introduction there, Mr. Warren. Marvin Murdoch here. I was looking for a simple word. It's a talent box. I'm a published author, photographer, commercial actor, and also artist. I do believe in investing in yourself. I've lived, originally from Jamaica. I've lived in the States for 15 years, started my own company. And now I'm actually working for another company doing government contracting. But I start with my own company first. Visionary Craft was founded in Stamford, Connecticut, I think during 2005, 2006. Photography has always been my passion, and it has actually opened the path for many other avenues. I will tell any business owner in the room, believe in yourself, invest in yourself. That is first and foremost important. Um, and just go with it. Literally, just do it. So it hasn't been easy. We've all experienced that as small business owners, being in the field or sector that we're in. But we are so important to nation building and as far as the economy and growth. Um, so I've published a book since 2002. It was a combination of poetry and black and white photography. I've done some acting as well. I've been a part of Scotiabank online banking, online commercial out here, as well as the Maggie Promotions Millions. I do music. I post my stuff on my content on YouTube. And then, of course, photography. I spoke on photography, acting, music, and what else is there? Music, photography, acting. There's a fourth one that I'm forgetting, but that's fine. Due to the nature of business and economy, I'm back here in Jamaica after doing 15 years, traveled a bit, and it's always good to explore. And my experience is that, look, in America, and that's one thing I take with me, and I encourage anyone. Work with a sense of urgency as well as to educate yourself to new processes, new development. Prisoner, you actually spoke on that earlier in regards to technology. We as human beings are not competing with AI for jobs. So the only way to be current and competitive is to also be in the know and also make that work for us. Presently in the role that I'm in, marketing and sales and marketing at Contract Consulting Jamaica. Government contracting. This is very unique to me. It's new, but I'm actually learning as a business owner myself the opportunities that do exist. Documentation is important. It is so important. You may have an idea, but it's much more easily accepted once you can put it down on paper and once you plan. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And this is advice that I've received also from many mentors and even being around successful persons. Especially, I like to mention golfers. Golf is a rich man's sport, and I've been a caddy for at least 11 years, and they taught me so many things on a golf course. Work with a sense of urgency. Strike when the iron is hot. You will find yourself working outside of work hours. Don't limit yourself. The sacrifices do pay off. Currently, I'm in a role at Contract Consulting Jamaica as a sales and marketing executive, where we assist the MSMEs to secure government contracts. Ms. Tamika, I think I've reached out to your company before, just to let you know. in regards to Jamaica Certified Business Enterprise Conference that we're having this month, March 25th, Monday at the AC Hotel. It's an
Okay.
opportunity for for MSMEs to learn about government contracting. We're focusing on the four core values: registering your business, being compliant, sourcing bid opportunities, and of course writing a winning proposal. In this realm, I'm learning more about business and the importance of documentation, which is not so much valued out here as it is in the US. However, I see the ease and the feasibility of moving your business much more forward. The convenience is that, and that's the thing too. You have to move with changing times. The world is moving towards convenience. Instead of you going out to seek the services, you can have those services come to you. Additionally, if it is that you're seeking to do any business at all with any financial institution, any organization that is compliant and registered, you would need to be compliant yourself as well to meet their expectations and criteria. So the same services that you provide to the general public, you can provide to the government. They make those requests for services as RFPs on the GoJep website or printed in the Gleaner. I've seen a lot, and it's and that's another thing I want to address. There's a narrative that we're trying to change that is only available to friends of politicians. That is not true. I wish people would actually make the effort, make the sacrifices to actually live their dreams. You know, I believe in living your dreams. Live your dreams and find new dreams to live. So with that being said, the same services that you provide to the general public, you can provide to the government. They make those requests for services as RFPs on the GoJob website, printed in a Gleaner. And as such, there is a variety. The most popular ones are security. There is an increased security awareness in Jamaica. Catering, janitorial, construction, medical supplies, pest control. The list goes on and on and on. I'm literally, because my company that I work for doesn't presently put out ads, I am literally hunting and searching persons and making them aware of such. There will be
So
more.
Marvin, I know you have a lot of information to share now, but leave some of it for the question and
Did I
answer
go over my
segment.
5 minutes?
Long time. Yes,
Oh, my
man. But you're
apologies.
doing well, you
Well, I
know.
have a
No,
lot
man,
to
you're doing
say,
well.
guys,
You're
and
doing
that's
well.
just
And
it.
I'm sure some questions will
So
be in the
my
chat for you.
apologies. I don't wanna
No,
I don't
man,
wanna
no
take
need
up
to
too much of my time.
apologize. Right? Yeah, man, no
But
need to
yes,
apologize. Right? But we
it,
keep in the flow, right? Keep in the flow. So we're just going
no
so
problem. So
I
I
said,
end no. I end no. I
yeah,
end
man.
no for the next year.
Yeah, man. All right. So, let's welcome Aaron Gardiner, right? Aaron is a dedicated and innovative UX designer and software developer with over 5 years experience. He considers himself an ICT consultant, a data analyst, sorry, right? So Aaron brings together, a unique set of skills. And if I mention uh, earlier, serial entrepreneur, he is the consummate serial entrepreneur in his field because he has founded multiple companies, multiple apps, which he will actually share with you today. Aaron, the floor is yours.
You're muted, Aaron. You're muted.
Unmute your mic.
Okay, thank you so much. And thanks for having me, Prisnell, and thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. So, as Prisnell shared, my name is Aaron Gardiner. I'm the CEO and Managing Director of Push Technologies Limited, which is a multinational software development firm that does business with both private and public sector. And it was quite interesting to hear you speak on that, Marvin, honestly, because as someone that's really new to the space, it was kind of our concern, that same saying that you shared earlier about jobs only being available to politicians. So that's something that I'm definitely looking forward to. But the major things that I really wanted to discuss tonight, guys, you know, are just kind of sharing some of my experiences with you, and hopefully you'll be able to provide some value. So we started this business back in 2015 officially, right? And we've been growing steadily since then. And that honestly has been due to our ability to pivot. So when we first started out, we basically started out doing marketing services, and that's not my strong suit. My background is in technology, but we figured that would be the easiest way to break into the market, you know. So we kind of went that route, and we didn't really make any money. I didn't get any clients, and you know, we really were considering just kind of quitting and you know maybe taking it you know from scratch and trying again. But a friend of mine actually reached out for a website project, and he's like, "Yo, Aaron, I know you have the skill set to do this, but it needs to be a company because we can't necessarily utilize an individual for that project." All right, so I'm like, okay, my business is registered, and it would be relatively easy to change things to you know be able to fit that criteria. So I accepted the project, and you know we built that website in relatively good time, and the client was impressed by that. And you know pretty much like a few months down the line, we got recommended for another project. And honestly, that's basically been how things are. We haven't really done any marketing, so to speak. It's just been putting our heart into the work that we've done, and those clients just kind of recommending us to other clients, right? So I really want to speak on the importance of pivoting, because sometimes we might have an idea in mind and we think that this is the way to go about business, but you really have to be flexible and open to the idea of change, because um, you want to do business, sure, and you might have an idea of what product or service you're going to offer, but the market ultimately decides that. You can't tell people what they want. They already know that. Your job is to just provide that in the most convenient way possible. Right. So that is pretty much what we did, and we've seen the benefits of that, and we've been able to utilize different growth hacking strategies such as bootstrapping. So I'm big on collaboration, and I see that our market isn't as clear cut as the states, nor is the investor appetite quite as large, right? So it might be a little bit more tedious to access capital, and the capital that you would be able to access here may be limited, right? So taking the approach of working with other small businesses that may be able to offer us a service or some sort of benefit, and then us providing them a benefit. For example, we have a relationship right now with a marketing firm where they pretty much do the marketing aspect of things. They bring in the work, we do the development, and we basically split the profit, right? So that's just one way of going about it. But bootstrapping and collaboration takes many forms, and I just like to let you guys know that that's an opportunity that you can utilize. You don't necessarily need to have the cash upfront. Maybe you can take the route of offering a service, or bartering, so that both of your businesses actually benefit from it. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
All right, thank you, Aaron. All right, so very good, insightful presentation thus far. So I'm sure we'll have a few questions in the chat. So what I'll doing, just a quick round of questions because time is going, and we want to get to also our, questions from the chat, as well as our speed networking as well, getting to know the business owners in the room. So Brittany, I wanted to ask, because for me, as a Jamaican, right? Almost sound like the TikTok trend. As a Jamaican, I would have heard about uh, free zones in the past, or the new iteration, special economic zones. But I was of the opinion that it was more for foreign direct investments and large investors. So, I mean, was I wrong, or is it that it's now being rebranded or extended?
Okay, so you're not wrong. It is, through the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, and, with endeavors by our minister, we are looking for foreign direct investment from large scale companies to come in and build out Jamaica. However, and this is not just now that we're focusing on, our smaller companies or more local companies. We do invite our local companies to come in as well and take advantage of the opportunities that the SEZ offers. So it's not a new concept. I do believe that, and our team is working to bring more visibility to that as well as the time goes by. But the SEZ is open to all businesses. Once they fit the eligibility criteria, then we are here with open arms to facilitate you being a part of the SEZ regime.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so Tamika, I just wanted to speak to you on 15 years in business. That's a major milestone, considering that a lot of businesses don't even make it out of the first year.
Mhm.
What has that experience been like? What have been some of the things? Sometimes I imagine you would have had those moments that you're wondering if it is worth it. Tell us, just share a bit on that.
Well, I think from the statistics, you would know that many business don't pass their first year. I would attribute to, my success in business to providing good customer service and putting customer first, relating to the customer, knowing what they feel, knowing what they want. Once you put customers first, the money, the profit will come later. And that is what I love about the culture that I embed in my staff also, to always ensure that customers are satisfied. Now, you have to be tough, I can tell you. Being in microfinance isn't easy. That's where people owe you money. It's not like a shop where people come and buy something or an entity where they pay upfront. you know there are times when people go delinquent and you have to use certain tactic in order to collect. You have to use compassion, but you still have to be strict about the fact that compliance is important. So if I could give one advice, it's always to put customers first, connecting with them and ensuring that they're satisfied. Once your customers are satisfied, they won't look to go anywhere else because they would build that comfort with you and stay. And I can tell you, referrals coming from your customers, my company was built on referral. I remember after giving out, I printed 100 business cards. And after giving out about 10, I couldn't sustain. I had to stop giving out business cards because things just took to a level where I could no longer, manage the influx that I was getting. And, because the business is self-funded, I had to stay within the scope. And if I had the knowledge then that I have now, of course, I would have used more resources that are available out there. But at the time, I wasn't exposed, or I didn't have knowledge of where I could or who I could go to. And that is why this is so important, to extend that hand to persons and that collaboration where they have resources outside of their own, to rely on.
Thank you very much. Yes, man. So Marvin, as a man of many experience, I want to know a little bit more about your business endeavors. What are some of the things that you're currently doing to leverage your growth? As well as I'm sure members of the audience would like to know more about the event that is coming up closer to the end of this month as well.
All right. So as a talent box, you have to always be current, always be putting out content. That's basically what I do. Um, I'm venturing into the realm of digital marketing. Everything is being digitalized. When I started photography, it was in the dark room. I was making my, what do you call it, the chemicals and using the aperture. Now you can just take a photo, go in Photoshop, adjust it, etc. So times and things have changed. So you have to always keep current. and always be on the ball. You're not always gonna be on the ball, but try your best to. That is it. Um, the culture that and a fun fact, I have 2 high school diplomas, one out here, Meadowbrook High School, one in the US. The culture in the US is that when new material is out, they read. And that's something, as much as Jamaica is rich in resources, we are not rich on moving past certain stereotypes, such as being late. For one, Jamaicans is known stereotypically across the world for being late. You know what being late shows? That you're not ready, that you're unprepared, that you're not interested. I hate being late. So you have to have your values and your principles outlined and set in stone. In regards to the JCBE conference, so this is an annual event. Look, where it's a project that I am passionate about. I am spearheading it. I am dealing with all the business owners. We have great relationships, because at the end of the day, it's not all about money, but it's always about growth and mutually beneficial relationships. Money is just an immediate gratification. I'm a chess player too, by the way, Mr. Warren. So that I'm always thinking a long term goal in mind. That is most important more than anything else. Your peripheral win may not last. It may make you feel good for the moment, and that's just an emotional attachment. But the long term goal you should always keep in mind. So with that being said, all right. So I'm spearheading the project. AC Hotel, Monday, March 25th. We're still onboarding sponsors. And even that has forced me to think outside of the realm. Mr. Meek, I'm not putting you on the spot, but I've said so countless emails and we made countless phone calls, and the response is that we'll get back to you, and that's fine. And I understand too, because in this realm in Jamaica, we're all here trying to improve the economy. We're all trying to make it so that the others behind us have at least an opportunity, a chance, and they can see their way through. Get me?
Yeah, man.
So,
Thank you for that,
so,
Marvin. Yeah, man.
Right. I
All right.
apologize for that, Marvin. I actually emailed you not too long ago. So you know
fine,
you
no
have
problem,
the
no problem. That's fine.
Yeah,
Mr. White, you
man.
keep cutting me off, and I have a lot of things to share, you know,
Yeah,
sir.
man, because it's like we're gonna have to have a segment just for you. We have to remember the other speakers are here, and I know that persons in the chat have questions. I'm even
Okay.
cutting my question short, to be honest with you. All right, so Aaron, I just want you to have the opportunity to just share quickly. I'm not going to ask you to share about all the apps, but just quickly share about Eco Harvest, which is one of the initiatives that you currently undertake.
Certainly. So thanks again, Prisno, for the introduction. Um, Essentially, Eco Harvest is an initiative to get Jamaicans involved in carbon capture so that we can make it a viable income, right? So we already purchase, you know, goods from these different entities, Hilo, Lasco, wherever, right? And effectively, after we utilize those products, they end up in a landfill, right? The idea is to get people involved in closing the product life cycle, i.e., through recycling, right? And in exchange for that, then we basically pay them out a percentage that would be utilized to reduce the effects of carbon pollution, right? So essentially, we're helping companies stay compliant in terms of their carbon footprint, and we're compensating individuals and entities to help them do so, right? So that is pretty much the premise of it. Still in early stages, but we see so much potential for the future because primarily Jamaica, right now we're depending on tourism, and climate change has been having a negative impact on that. We've seen the flooding and the effects on the beaches and so on. So this initiative is really geared towards solving those problems, in the long term, and effectively making Jamaica carbon negative in the future so that we can potentially make that another income stream, outside of tourism. And man, and
Thank you for thank you for that. All right, so now it's our entrepreneurs' time to ask those questions. I know there's some activities in the chat. So what I'll ask, could we could you turn on your microphone and ask the questions to the various panelists? No questions? All right. So I'll go. So Tamika, I wanted to ask, you did mention in the chat just now, and it was one of the things that sort of came up in our discussion with the name, because when I heard the name at first, I thought it was Ready Finance. It was really just after I realized, and the fact that you've been around much longer would have been one of the things that would have, I won't, I'll allow you to just respond. Mhm.
Sorry about that, my mic wasn't on. What I will say is that when I started out this journey, I didn't expect the growth that I received. Hence, due to the lack of vision, I didn't take the necessary steps to do the proper paperwork. And by the time that I realized that I need to take it a step further, it's almost like we're both, courts was right there, one step behind me, but was able to make one step further. Because whilst I was trading under the name Ready Cash, it was trading as Tamika Frame Trading as, and the company's office, unfortunately, and I hope it's something that they change to protect small business, is to, once you have a trading as name, allow you to keep the name when you transition to a company without giving it to someone else. So I was actually able to still keep the name when I transitioned from a trading as to a company limited. However, courts first me by a couple days trademarking the name, and that allowed them to use it. And of course, everybody knows Quartz, it's a household name, so they would then take precedence in terms of popularity over my company. We're still doing well, but oftentimes people will say the first thing that comes out, are you Quartz Ready Cash? It's annoying, but I understand, and I always educate people not to make that mistake.
I would say use it to your advantage, but it is certainly great advice, because it is one of the things that we say to entrepreneurs. When you're growing, there are things that initially, and Aaron said it, you pivot. The
Yes.
market will respond to you in a certain way. You need to stay agile, be flexible,
Right.
right? So it's one of those things, as you go along, there are things that maybe you didn't consider before, and that's okay. I say sometimes lean not on thine own understanding. It's for you to get the help, get the necessary professionals involved, right? One of the things that I have noticed, sometimes we say, I've even got phone calls, persons trying to call Frontier Airline, and when persons are trying to kind of gather the name, I'm like, I've never even thought of that, right? Because
Right.
as I said before, our name came strictly from the fact that economics is my love, is my passion, right? But I could say Frontier, like the airline, because truth be told, persons will be able to identify that. So truth be told, it in one end, as I said, it can be annoying because you keep have to be explaining, the fact that you're different, you were actually the owner of the name all this time. But truth is, some people actually will call and say, hey, because they've known about Ready Cash or Ready, so the truth is, there are benefits to derive from it. It depends on how you
Absolutely.
really look at it and use it for your benefit, truth be told, right?
Yes, we have been leveraging, as a matter of fact, what usually when courts put out an ad in this and they search Ready Cash, our name come up first. So
Look at that.
there are some
Yeah,
benefits,
man, Ready
but
Cash financing for the
you
win,
still feel a little
right?
weird because you own it and you want to be the only one with
hmm
it,
hmm
But yes.
So I wanted to ask Brittany as well. I think I wanted to ask Brittany as well. What has the take up been like for local companies, because as I said before, my own understanding was that not until recently I went to a JSEZA workshop, right? I had to be coached into how to even pronounce the name, right? I won't call any names now, but truth be told, I was of the opinion, as I said before, that it was really for big companies. What has the take up been like for local companies and even companies that fall under the MSME, designation?
Okay, so I would have just been here short of 2 years. So when we look back at the companies that would have transitioned from the free zone, because we do have companies that were underneath the free zone that have, been grandfathered into the special economic zone, the take up is quite well. So while we do have large organizations, we have a myriad of sizes of organizations across the island. As I said, we have up to 11 parishes that have organizations within the SEC. I can't tell you the specific number right now, but I can tell you that it's a healthy mix of, our developers, our occupants, and even the zone users. We do have a significant amount of local companies. And it's interesting because when you hear of the SEZ, a lot of times what accompanies that is the BPO. And we know that a lot of the BPOs are owned by international companies. However, we do have a lot of companies here that are local. Kingston Wharves, for example, houses one of our larger SEZ zones, and it's mainly local companies. Same for the Montego Bay Free Zone that has how many thousand, 100,000 square footage that houses local organizations, both small, medium-sized, and large.
All right, thank you for that, Brittany. That is exactly it. Because when I tell my friend I'm a chatterbox, I'm always sharing the information that I learn. I've always been saying that my understanding was that it was really for like BPOs, foreign direct capital. So it's really good to know that things are really shaping up. As I said, it goes into what we call our thesis, Jamaica's Yellow Brick Road to Entrepreneurial Success. The place is ripe for investment. I think I have two questions, right? One from Sabrina. Sabrina, you can open your microphone and go ahead. And then we'll have Rochelle. You can do the same after Sabrina's question.
Hey, so I had asked it in the chat, but I'll go ahead and ask it here. Good evening, everybody. I'm Bree from Bree Botanicals, also called Sabrina Hilton. Anyway, the question was for Tamika. What was your transition like? I'm sorry, I had to run to get to the phone. What was your transition like moving from a sole trader or trading as to a limited liability company? And what were some of the challenges you had at the time with that transition?
A lot of people are afraid to do documentation themselves, but going to the company's office is actually quite easy because they guide you through the process. So I will say the process is quite simple. Once you go and tell them that you want to transition from a company limited, from a sole trader to a company limited, they provide you with the necessary forms and also advise you of what you need. Now, that was back in 2015 that I did my transition. So I'm sure it probably changed since then. So I can't tell you now exactly what the process is, but once you go there, they guide you, tell you what you need. And within a couple of days, you get through. For me, because of the conflict with courts, and it's always best to do your search first. You can pay for the search at the company's office, or you can do an online search just to see if there are any similarities with the name. Because no matter how unique you think your name is, there might be someone out there with your name. Trust me. You might think that you're the only one, or there's someone very close. Or you might even hear the name and not think of it because you know your business is small and you're not associating it. But as I said, it's easy. Just call the company's office or go there. They will guide you, and usually whatever they guide you on, they won't ask for anything more. It's like a one time or one step process.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd just like to add to that though. The only downside that I observed while going through the process was we basically lost the age based benefits, so to speak. So for example, when we registered our limited liability company, we had to close our trading as and that meant that we had to close that at the bank as well and open a new bank account under the new entity. So the previous bank account was open for 3 years, and our new bank account is basically open for 2 years because, well, they're treating it as two separate entities, even though it's pretty much the same company, you know?
Well, to add to that, I don't know if I should be saying this, but I still have my trading as account. I didn't have to close them, thankfully and luckily for me. So I don't know if the process has changed once again. This was back in
Yeah.
2015. When I transitioned to company limited, though, they did advise that with the new documentation, I need to open a business account, which is different from the trading as, but I was still able to keep the trading as because I still have it. So it depends on the, but they should allow you to keep it because even Scotia, it was the same trading as account that they just switched the name over to company limited. So it depends on the bank. I didn't lose any of my accounts transitioning to company limited.
All right. So discussion has been, flowing quite fruitfully. What I'll ask, my entrepreneurs to do is to share information about their businesses in the chat, right? I believe Rochelle had a question. If you have a question, Rochelle, now is the time to go. We have a few minutes left on the call, and we want to be able to maximize it, right? What I will do now is just ask for any final words. You have 30 seconds. While you're on the floor, being that you're on the floor, Tamika, you can go first. 30 seconds.
Well, as mentioned to persons, everyone needs financing. We're here to help you, whether it's for personal use or for businesses. Sometimes we invest all of our money in our business and leave ourselves broke and are unable to take care of the personal expenses. For whatever it is, we are here to help you. I will provide my email address in the chat. So if anybody is interested in our services, then you can take advantage of that. But otherwise, keep going, structure and leverage your business and keep this connection with the contacts that are here.
Great. Aaron, you can go next.
Yeah, certainly. So my final words would basically be believe in yourself, invest in yourself, be flexible, and keep an open mind because you might have an idea of what you think your business or company is going to be, but the customer ultimately gets to decide that, So today's actually the last day of my 9 to 5. I'll be primarily focused on my businesses, moving forward. And I was able to build that while working at my 9 to 5. So once you do focus on that and put in the work, then I know the results will definitely show.
Thank you for that, Aaron.
Pleasure, man.
Marvin?
My final words would be.
And remember, you have 30 seconds, right? You're the bad
All right,
student
so
in the class,
believe in yourself. Look, your work, your name is important. Your brand is important. Think of yourself as a brand, and with that, maintain and do whatever is necessary to make your brand be known and be accepted publicly. Seriously, people need to take their names and their brand much more seriously and just get the work done. It's hard at times, but just get the work done. Those are my final
Yeah,
words.
man. Thank you for that. Appreciated. And Brittany, you started, so you're ending it. Your final words, 30 seconds.
Okay, so my final word is just to thank you firstly, Prisnell, for this platform, just to speak with, these entrepreneurs, these budding success stories. I will just say it takes a lot to be an entrepreneur. As
Mhm.
somebody who is not one, I
You're an
am
entrepreneur, man. You're an
I'm an
entrepreneur. Yeah.
entrepreneur.
Clear
I
it,
am
claim it. Yeah.
I am
Mhm.
highly motivated.
Yeah, man.
From Marvin to Tamika to Aaron, I
Mhm.
just want to say thank you for your insights. I saw a question in the chat from Brian. Brian, I have not forgotten. My chat is not allowing me to type. So what I will do is I'll ask Dominique or Prisnell to just send you my email and then we can have a discussion
Sure.
maybe tomorrow about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
man.
But it's just, I'm just giving a general thanks for the platform for persons
Yeah,
to
man.
learn more about the SEZ. The opportunities are there. We just have to dig a little to find them
Yeah,
for
man.
local
Grateful.
companies.
Grateful to have you guys all. And I'm not doing the vote of thanks today, so I won't preempt the speaker. Yeah. So you are on the floor.
Everyone, are you here? You hearing me okay? And let me know if you're seeing me okay as well. Good evening. It was indeed a pleasure hosting you this evening. I can relate to Marvin. Marvin wants to go on and on and on. And I want to sit in the room and I want to continue to listen to everybody. And I want to continue to see the questions come in. And I think we're going to have to give Tamika a session and then give Marvin a session and then give Aaron a session and then have Brittany to just kind of guide everybody. And I'm excited about it. And so, of course, it was an absolute pleasure, and so I just want to say thank you. We want to express gratitude to you for being here with us this evening. You know, your insights, your expertise, your information, your knowledge, how you were able to share that with us. And we had the chat buzzing for the entire evening and the ability to not just share, but to engage the team and to want them to continue to know more. And I see everybody asking for your email addresses and just want to connect with you. And Priscilla alluded to it earlier, but I want to say it now. The idea was to create a community where you could go not only to seek answers, but to give information, to connect, to give, and to get information, and to be able to know where to go to, And we were able to provide that holistic approach this evening. And so I am happy that you were here. I'm happy that you were able to speak. Brittany, sir, can you just change my slides for me, please? So to our guest speaker, Brittany, thank you so much for the insights. You spoke to something very, very interesting. Ever so often we continue to push a narrative that there are certain opportunities that these small and medium-sized business owners are just not able to access. We don't have the room open to us, and so you're kind of changing and shifting that notion, and that came out in your presentation this evening, and we're happy that we have now been informed, and we know where to go, and we see the dots are connecting. And so thank you so much for meeting with us this evening and then educating and informing the persons that are on with us this evening. Frontier appreciates you. And so, courtesy of Frontier and Bree Botanics, shout out to Bree. This lovely basket presented here in front of you. And your goodie bag, just to be able to put in all your excitement. So you'll have that delivered to you by tomorrow or Saturday. And so thank you so much for sharing with us this evening. And we are on to the lady who I was pleasantly surprised. She just continued going, like she just kept going and sharing the good information. Like she was ready for this, she was prepared. Tamika, thank you so much. I know you had a full day, but you jumped on and you handled it like a boss, the boss you are. And so, courtesy of Frontier and Bree Botanics, of course, we want to say thank you for being with us this evening. And so you'll have your package delivered. And of course, we have to big up the man, them. right? Mr. Murdoch, big up yourself, sir. I don't know how this delivery going to go, but you and Priestnell will work this out. But of course, sir, a wealth of knowledge. You just drew from everything. You just kept going, right? And we'll talk to you about a session for you by yourself. But thank you so much. We appreciate it. And so we'll have your token handed off to you. And sir, Aaron, let me take the time to offer you my congratulations. You know, you leaping out, you taking that step to be out on your own, to, you know, take a new step. Congratulations. We're here to help you with the process. And I see where Brittany's excited for you. I don't know what Brittany is cooking up in her thoughts, but in the event that you need us to guide you as well, we're here as well. So congratulations, Aaron. Aaron, you have a slide here as well, right? It's just the person who's in charge of the slides. Those don't switch it as yet. We're waiting. But thank you. So thank you, everyone. Of course, guys, I don't forget you. All you lovely, lovely people who should be getting ready for bed now, who joined us this evening. We love you immensely. We appreciate you. And we're excited that you continue to join us. I think we're on part 2. We have 2 more to go. And we're looking forward to having you there. We have some prizes for you for persons who are going to be at every single session. You can talk to Priscilla about that. But we're happy, happy, happy to have you. As always, thank you guys for being with us. We love and appreciate you at Frontier. And thank you so much for listening to me this evening. And bye.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, contact us.
Thank
yeah.
you, Dominique.
This is our information. You can contact us. You can email us at prisonal@frontierbusiness.org or Dominique@frontierbusiness.org. And you have the phone numbers there. And yeah, we have socials. And like Tamika, once you type in Frontier Business Advisory, best believe we're going to pop up, right? You're going to see us popping up on Google Business and all kind of stuff. So yeah, you can look for us. And of course, we're doing it together. We're breaking barriers to do business together. And we're happy that we're connecting the dots and we have all kind of people to do it with us. And we'll be there with you on Monday, Marvin, and we hope that Tamika will be there as well. So you guys, you can contact us. And I think the next slide is just saying thank you for being here. And we were happy that we're able to host you. And bye. Over to Mr. Warren.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I was wondering if Dominique wasn't going to allow me, she just take over the show, right? I want to say some thank yous too, because obviously I'll be in problems come tomorrow, Friday, right? It was an excellent, overall presentations from everyone, very insightful, right? I'm really appreciative of the support, right? The slides were excellent, courtesy of Miss Dominique. Excellent, I can't find the words. The presentations, excellent. I have to big up the team, right? So I call Dominique's name. There's Easton. Easton is our finance guy. Very quiet, but very supportive. One of the things that, when we spoke, Tamika, you spoke about your team. So I can speak for my team as well. I carry them on my back anywhere I go, because at the end of the day, they're very supportive of whatever I do. We claim Aaron as well as our independent ICT consultant. Faith, look here, Faith. Anywhere we go, anywhere Faith goes, I goes. So I hope you sent your information in the chat, Faith, because she does have an event coming up on pension planning and all of that. Hope you place the information in the chat, Faith. But I just want to big up everybody, big up everybody for coming out. Charmaine, very supportive. When Charmaine isn't physically here, she sends her sister, who is also a business owner, right? I see George, all the way in Canada. I see Glenn. I see Kalonji. I think Kalonji is a colleague of Charmaine, right? I see Leon, big up yourself. I see Liaison 1. Liaison 1 is Lauren, Mr. LHD boss. Big up yourself, sir. Right? I see Lorenzo, Makeda, Marvin. I see again, I see Raven, Renee. And I wanted to just big up JSEZA as well. Lisa, I know that this conversation really started just a few weeks ago, and it has really matured into a lovely presentation, right? I see a few more persons. See Renee, Mario, Sabrina. Excellent. When you talk about Bree e-commerce, Bree Botanicals, check them out on Instagram. Fabulous, fabulous. And we're looking sponsors too. Because you see those lovely gifts, they're not just photos, they're real, right? They're real things, right? Real things. Realer than a cotton reel, right? So I just want to big up everybody for coming. Stephanie, I see you. And Warren. Warren is in real estate. I hope everybody plug their business, because this is why we are doing this. This is not just for Frontier, it's about a collective uh you know ecosystem, I'd call it, right? And we're on all the social platform, guys. We're on YouTube. This will be posted as well. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram, we're on X, we're on TikTok. We're everywhere. Just contact us. We're here to serve you in every way possible. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Priscilla,
Thank
for
you.
the
It's a pleasure as well.
Thank you, sir, for doing over my vote of thanks. Thank you, everyone.
okay.
Bye, everybody. Frontier, this keeps getting better. I remember the first session, and this one is well put together.
Thank
So,
you.
congratulations on the growth. Love it.
Thank you, Bree.
Welcome. Have a good evening, everyone.
You too.